Dexter, millions of people have tried to call and save you, but I foiled you once again. I'm moving your show to 7:30, and no one's gonna find out about it.
Ah, shit. So boom, right? Dexter's Lab has some of the weirdest video game tie-ins I've ever seen. Most of them are portable oddities, simply placing Dexter into a gameplay style without changing much to fit the brand besides cosmetics. These games are fine and all, but the whole point of making a licensed game should be bringing the world to life in a playable form and not just reskinning Elevator Action EX. There was one game that attempted to do just this, emphasis on attempted. Mandark's Lab released on the same day I was born. The fuck? As a late release for the PS1's lifecycle, but not late enough for me to think it's that weird. It was developed by Red Lemon Studios, a company started by some former Gremlin staff in 1996 with high ambitions, but unfortunately closed in 2003. This game was released the year before, but if you were to look anywhere besides the game itself and pages related to it, you wouldn't really know that. It's a little odd this game doesn't show up on many lists of games they developed, but that's the ballad of a licensed game, I guess. It was published by BAM Entertainment, a company that mostly published licensed games, with a few ports and original IPs here and there. They entered a partnership with Cartoon Network in 2000 to be able to publish games for both Dexter and Powerpuff. They lasted longer than Red Lemon after this game, but financial issues and failed partnerships eventually led them to going defunct in 2005. The development history may make it seem like the game was dead on the water, but as you'll come to see, that's not exactly accurate.
The door won't open. Door open. Voice not recognized. What do you mean, voice not recognized? My lab!
The story of this game is exactly what you'd expect it to be. Just like the title implies, Mandark invades Dexter's lab. After getting back in with a voice modulator and a password they never actually tell you.
Okay, I think Mandark's new password is,
This is Mandark, and my password is...
You find he's sabotaged it in various ways in order to destroy it, with the biggest thing being a big-ass fish tank he put a time bomb on. But since it's Mandark, he's a simp, so DD convinces him to let us compete for the deactivation codes. But Mandark is also a bitch, so he tries to blow us up after being beat anyway. He's also incompetent though, so the bomb just ended up being a dud anyway. Now this is the only problem I have with the game's story. It's very on brand and I love that, but when the whole conflict is the lab will get destroyed if this goes off, and then at the very end it's just...
Huh? What? Ooh. Mandark, you imbecile. You can't even program a simple countdown.
It can end up feeling very unsatisfying. Despite that though, the writing itself is very accurate to the show, coupled with cutscenes that I'm pretty sure are just straight taken from the show and redubbed if the mouth sync is to be believed, and it keeps the game feeling like a playable episode, especially since all the original voice actors return and put in all the same energy as they always do. Even though the ending's a little deflated, everything outside of that elevates it higher than a lot of other licensed games.
Girl, I don't have time for your stupid dance. I have to figure out what Mandark has changed the secret entrance password to. I bet I could guess the password. Don't be so stupid. The chances of guessing the correct password are minute. Only a fool would try. Wait a minute. Yes. Didi, why don't you try to guess the password?
Presentation can make or break a game for some people, and while I don't think this is the best that the PS1 can offer graphically, it's still pretty impressive in all honesty. The game's environments are not only modeled well, but recreate the show's art style fairly accurately. The main thing it falters on is some of the character models. They're not butt ugly, but every so often they can look a little off, and Didi's blank, soulless stare haunts my nightmares. Something I have absolutely no problems with though is the game's sound, which my dumbass forgot to mention in the Protector of Earth video, so I'm not forgetting it here. And just like PoE, Mandark's Lab features music that sounds like it straight up came from the show. This really helps the feel of playing an actual episode, and I love it when licensed games do this. Add the voice actors returning to record new dialogue, and you get an experience that not many games from even this same series can provide. So while it may look a bit crunchy today, I still feel like this was a pretty good transition from 2D to 3D. Not as good as it could be, and upscaling like I did definitely makes the flaws more noticeable, but still good nonetheless.
Eureka! By using the atomic shrinker and my new hovercraft, I should be able to enter the nuclear reactor and remove any rogue atoms.
The concept of this game was such a good idea, but like many good ideas, the execution isn't exactly what it's cracked up to be. In concept, it's genius, adventure segments that take you through Dexter's house and lab, with mini games for the non-adventure segments. Where it falters is expanding on either of those gameplay styles in a meaningful way. The adventure elements work well enough, but feel too short. Dexter's house, for instance, is really well modeled, but you're only really given 2 things to do here before being in the lab for the rest of the game. It makes me want to explore more and interact with more things, but the only interactable are purely for progression. Even going back and interacting with something again just gives the same exact dialogue most of the time. It's fine, especially for a non-full price game of its time, but you can almost feel these segments struggling to be more fleshed out despite their restrictions. A lot of my favorite parts of the game come from the interactions in this mode. From the actual plot to some of the repeated lines when passing by the characters.
Hiya, Grandpa!
I'm not your grandpa!
These segments are good, but looking at the team behind it, I wish they had the chance to make it great. While it's good, none of the mini-games is just blatantly reused. The game is very short, and what's here can overstay its welcome at times. Not in low quality, but just how unnecessarily long some of them can be. Getting it out the way first, I don't like the rhythm segments at all. I say that in quotations because not a single one of these feel like they're actually on beat, so it's purely a visual thing. Couple that with them being very long and boring, and I have no clue why you'd start and end the game with this of all things. The rest of the mini-games fare a lot better, but even with that, I wouldn't call any of them particularly great. While the other mini-games can be fun, most of them start to overstay their welcome before long. Add in how many of them are simple enough to get tired of long before they end, and you get a mixed bag of enjoyability. It's kinda disappointing considering how well the other segments were done. It feels like a very lopsided experience where the games feel more like an obstacle to get to the adventure segments than something to look forward to. But those segments themselves need some fixing, so the experience becomes very inconsistent as a whole. I see what they were going for, and I enjoy some of the stuff they put here, but unfortunately it falls too short to be anything other than mid.
Voila! I have disarmed the bomb's timer.
This game had the chance to be something really good in terms of licensed games from its era, but due to inconsistent quality on the gameplay front, it all feels distinctly mediocre, which is a sentiment that seems to be shared by a majority of the people who've played this game, if a bit more aggressive at times, goddamn. Even for kids at the time, I feel like this wouldn't be a worthy purchase, especially since it basically has no replay value. Which is sad, because this concept could very well lend itself to a very fun and memorable experience, but instead, all of its elements blend to create a very inconsistent and forgettable product. That was a much more depressing note than I normally end these vids on, but if anything can be learned from this, it's that mech fighting game would have been so fucking cool, and it pisses me off to no extent that it'll never be released. I'll see you niggas next time.